The next step, step number 2 in the sales process, is the wants section. Download your wants worksheet and follow along so I can explain each step. First, we'll want to establish a person of interest. So it's always advisable to ask the question, are we waiting on anybody else with an interest in your new system? If they say, well, my husband, but he's not going to be able to make it, ask what the name of the husband is and write it down. You'll want to incorporate, let's say the husband's name is Joe. You'll want to incorporate Joe in the presentation, even though Joe is not there. Okay, that'll help you. If Joe is the absent decision maker, that'll make it a lot easier for you to reset an appointment with both if you keep Joe in the loop and in the forefront of the conversation. Next, under person of interest, how did you hear about our company? Be quiet, listen, and find out how they heard about it. Maybe it was a referral from a customer that you've recently serviced, and that's fantastic. You can share a few stories. Next question is, how long have you lived in the home, and how long do you plan on staying? That's great information. Be careful not to pre-qualify or prejudge your customer based on what they say. Oftentimes, a big mistake is if the customer says we're only going to be here for a year, that you automatically assume they're going to want the cheapest price. That's not necessarily the case. Ask this question to get an idea of where they are so that you will have a better understanding as to how to shift your presentation towards equity, return on investment, home value, or comfort, safety, and health issues, depending upon what they say. Then the next one, have you ever invested in an HVAC system before, yes or no? That's really important because if they have invested in a heating and air conditioning system 15 years ago, they still may have a mindset of a budget or a price 15 years old. So you'll want to say something like, 15 years ago. Okay, let me ask you, what kind of car were you driving 15 years ago? Wow, that was a wonderful automobile. How much did you pay for that vehicle? How much would you suppose a car just like that, brand new, would cost today? Yeah. And that's all you have to say. They'll get the point. Just be quiet, nod your head and agree, and they'll get the point. Step number 2, common issues. The common issues are there to make it easy for you to identify things that the customer wants. It says, this list of 10 common health, safety, and comfort issues we find when replacing HVAC systems with new. If you would, take a moment just to review this list and check anything you may have in common. When the customer selects 2 or 3 items on that list, guess what? They've told you what they wanted. If they have a room that's difficult to heat or cool, they want to make the room more comfortable. If they're overpaying with high utility bills, they want a system that's more economical to operate. You see, the customer is telling you what they want with their new system by checking off these boxes. We'll be using that to establish a list of goals later, which is very, very, very critical. Find out what your customer wants, make a short list of goals, prioritize those goals, and they just gave you a prioritized shopping list so that you can design a system based on what they want instead of what you think they need. The next step is to review the features and the budget. Simply slide the list over and have them check off which features and what type of a budget they had in mind for the project. Finally, we want to see if there's a particular brand that they had an interest in. This is going to tell you a few things. If they've been already speaking to other contractors, they're going to have a brand in mind, or if they've been speaking to a relative and they are sold on a brand itself. If they do have a particular brand in mind, simply ask the question, what is it about that brand that interests you most? And they'll tell you. Oftentimes, they're not sure, other than the fact that their neighbor said they liked it or a few technical features about the system. Then you ask this question, well, would you rather we focus on the brand for your home regardless of how it fits the needs of your home, or select a system that would be the best match for your home's needs? Oftentimes they'll say, okay, yeah, I want the one that's going to be the best fit for my home's needs, giving you permission to select what brand would be the best fit. The last step in this is to develop a list of things the customer wants. Based on all of the information that you've gathered, it should be relatively easy to say, well, Mrs. Smith, if I understand correctly, you're telling me that you want to make the upstairs bedroom more comfortable year round. Is that right? Okay, I'm going to write that down. And you also want a system that's less expensive to operate and is less likely to cost you a lot in repair bills over the next 10 to 15 years. Is that right? Okay, low operating costs and low maintenance and repair costs. I've got it. You see, as you start establishing 2 or 3 of these things, all of a sudden you've completely differentiated yourself from the competition, because you're not just replacing a piece of equipment that's going to heat or cool their home. You're solving the customer's problems. When we build a proposal based on what the customer wants and anchor everything that we propose to do as to how it satisfies those wants, we're going to be in a much stronger position to close that sale compared to the guy that simply comes in and says, here's a box, here's all the features of the box, and this is how much it's going to cost to heat and cool your home. See the difference? It's huge, and that's called selling value. So the first 2 steps of the sales process, I want you to practice, drill, rehearse all of the scripting, get comfortable with the worksheet, work it out, fill in the gaps, and let's go make it happen.